have any nerdy questions about how desalination plants work on cruise ships and how we get fresh water? Well, today in 2 Minute Tuesday, as part of our Countdown to Cruising 2021, we are going to answer the two nerdiest questions which I have had. So let's watch the intro and then we'll answer those questions for you.
Everyone is excited about the prospect of finally cruising again in 2021. So let's count it down to see when, where, and which cruise ship will be the first to leave a North American port.
As we count down, we will have guests from the high seas, cruise tips, hacks, cruise news, cruise deals. It'll be great. Okay, my fellow nerds, let's put 2 minutes on the clock and see if we can't answer the two most confusing questions for me. All right, let's work on question 1. How does the engine water, which isn't boiling, boil the water we want to purify? It was confusing me. Didn't make much sense. I would have understood if they put the water in a pot and put fire under, brought it to a boil. That would have made sense. But no, that's not what they do. They're recirculating the energy they've already used to heat the water, cooling the engines. So here's what they do. The water in the tank that's being evaporated off to purify it is under a vacuum. We all remember from science class as kids that in a vacuum, water boils at a much lower temperature. So that's how they do it. It is so simple, but I couldn't figure it out. They put the water in a vacuum, so then the water from the engine, which isn't boiling but is still hot, is hot enough to make this water boil. The water boils, and then it is recondensed as pure distilled water. Now, the other question I had, my other nerd question is, if you do this, how do you not end up with a giant pile of salt in your tank? Because you've evaporated off the water and left the salt and the other debris. How do you not end up with a giant pile of it? Another simple answer. You just circulate a lot of water through that tank, so it's not like you put in 10 gallons and you boil it down to 0 and you throw out the salt. You simply put in 10 gallons and evaporate it, and then when 2 gallons are gone, you put in rotate in another 10 gallons, and so you're never evaporating it down to 0. You're just making the remaining water more heavily salinated and you reuse it somewhere else. So there is never a pile of salt. Duh! So simple. I don't know. Just seemed crazy, confused me for many, many years. Even if you talked about salinization plants in Israel where they do an amazing job, I was always confused, like how did they not just make a ton of salt sitting there? And that makes so much sense, and that's why I'm not an engineer. Anyway, that is the answer to my two questions. And the other question that you would want to know the answer to is, how do they harden the water? Because distilled water is terrible. We as humans wouldn't like it. You need to add calcium and magnesium, and they simply run it across rocks, which absorb the calcium and the magnesium, and then they UV sterilize it, and that's your drinking water on the ship. Thousands and thousands of gallons, made super simply, and I was over confusing it in my mind. But now you don't have to be confused because you listened to 2 Minute Tuesday. Comment below if that makes sense to you. Or you could also say, hey Doug, you're an idiot. Of course that makes sense. It didn't confuse me at all. I don't know why it confused you. Anyway, we hope you enjoyed the video. We hope you hit that like button, share the video if you know somebody who would want to know something about it. And crap! We did not make it in 2 minutes, but I tried, sorry.